We are now going live on YouTube. It will take a second to start up, and we're now live, and I hand the meeting over to you.
All right, very good. I'd like to call to order the Parks and Recreation Committee regular meeting, March 22nd, 2021 at 6 p.m. Roll call, please.
Walker.
Here.
Cast.
Here.
Henderson.
Here.
Garbutt.
Yes.
Burkheiser.
Here.
Champagne.
Here.
Hesh.
Here. All right. Do we have any communications?
Nope, I didn't get any.
No communications?
No communications.
All right. Looking for an approval of the minutes of our February 22nd, 2021 meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Garbutt,
Second.
support by Rachel. Any discussion? If there's no discussion, roll call vote on approval of the meetings, please. The minutes, please.
Garbutt.
Yes.
Cast.
Yes.
Henderson.
Yes.
Walker.
Aye. Yes.
Champagne.
Yes.
Burkheiser.
Aye.
Hesh.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
All right, moving on to public comments. If we have anyone that is on the line that would now make a public comment or wish to, you have 2 minutes. Please state your name, your address, and go right ahead for 2 minutes.
Okay, callers, if you would like to ask a question, please dial *9 to raise your hand at the moment. Once again, that is *9 to raise your hand, and then your calls will be answered in the order they are received. I would just like to repeat *9 to raise your hand, and then once you've raised your hand, we can move on to asking whatever question you have for the board.
So I'm going to ask that if you're not speaking to please mute your line. Somebody's got a lot of background noise. I'm not sure who, but yeah, great. Thank you.
All right, if we have no public comments, we're going to move on to item 1 of the League and Community Service Organization reports.
I sent the ones that I received ahead of time out in your packet. I know that Josh is on. I know that Carrie from the horse farm was calling in, and I believe that the buyer's crew is on here. So I'm gonna let Carrie, she's one of our callers, give her update to you guys.
All right, can we, Carrie, are you there?
It looks like we have 2 people raising their hand at the moment to speak on the phone.
Hold on, I can tell you which one is her.
Oh, now 3 callers are raising their hands.
The 4678 would be Carrie from the horse farm.
4678. Okay. 4678. I am going to ask you to unmute. To unmute, you must dial *6 into your phone and you will be unmuted. Once again, that is *6 to unmute and speak to the board.
Hello, this is Carrie Hancock. Can you hear me?
Yes, we
Yes.
can, Carrie, thank you.
Okay, so my update is we've got a lot of kids signing up for equestrian team with the middle schools through Wall Lake, Huron Valley, and West Bloomfield. Enrollment is still open for that, so we'll probably know our numbers more towards the end of March. The parking lots, our new parking lot is holding up well to the snow plowing and to the water runoff. And it looks like we'll be riding outdoors soon with the dry weather and early spring. So we're looking forward to that. Otherwise, everything's going right along.
Good.
Any questions?
I think so. Does anybody have any questions for Carrie? guess we can go on to our next caller then, if nobody has any questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Carrie.
You're welcome.
Okay, let's see. The next caller with their hand up is the number ending in 4866. I will request you to unmute. To unmute your phone, please dial *6 and you will be able to talk to the board. You should be.
Hello, this is Tim Bailey with Interlakes Girls Softball.
Hey,
Can
Tim.
you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Tim,
Yes.
thank
Just a quick report. We've got our registration is closed down. We've got 36 teams, which is up a couple from what we were going to have last spring. So we've got quite a number of younger girls participating in the two younger leagues. We've got, I think, at least an extra team in each of those, which is really good news because those kids will tend to keep moving up through the ranks. So we're at right around 300 girls, which is really good. I was out at the fields this weekend. All weekend we had our draft out there. First time we've had our draft outdoors in, I don't know, a number of years. We usually have it at Total Sports, and we just decided not to have it indoors this year, and the weather cooperated. And the park looks really good, actually. Looks really nice. We do, however, going to need more garbage cans. There's not enough garbage cans out there. We probably need 10 more. So, and thanks, Mark, for getting the water going and all that kind of stuff that you're working on. So that's my report.
Thank you, Tim.
So let me ask, Mark, do we have, are all as the ball fields open up, do we have enough cans from last year? Are they just stored somewhere and we need to get them out? Or is that something we have to reach back to GFL, or what's the, I guess, status of the can stuff?
Yeah, we do. At Maple, we stored them in the restrooms. They're all pulled out. At Hickory,
Okay.
we stored them on a trailer, put them at the Fisher Road garage outside on the trailer. Those are all out. All the trash cans are out, but I know we needed more. We didn't get our allotment last year for Hickory or Maple. So I'll reach out to one of the guys from GFL and see if they can get us another shipment.
They were ordering us the large ones and they never delivered them. They delivered the small ones for us, but that didn't meet the quantity we needed. So they owe us some of the larger cans for both Hickory and Maple Lake.
Yeah, and they took all the smaller cans away, but brought us larger cans, but they didn't have enough. So they're good. Well, I'll get them to deliver what we need. I still have the list of what we need at the shop. So I'll call and make sure we get them all out.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It looks like we have one more caller with their hand up. If you'd like to take the call. Okay. Caller ending in 5568. If you would please press *6 to unmute your phone. I will send you a request. Once again, that is *6 to unmute your phone, and please state your name when you call in.
Hello?
Hello.
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I took a couple attempts on the *6. This is Mike Carney with the Motor City Mountain Bike Association. I apologize for calling in. I couldn't find the passcode for the Zoom. Report-wise, trail's in great shape. It's been getting a ton of usage over the past 2 weeks or so since the snow has melted. It's been draining well. Our drainage and erosion improvements we made throughout the year last year have been holding up extremely well. So we have a few things planned for the short term. As far as trail days, we'll probably look to schedule something in May. So I'll circle around with the ball folks on any tournaments or anything they have scheduled, so we avoid those weekends. But hopefully we can get something going COVID friendly here in May. So as far as the bridge, I think, Emily, I just need to connect back with you on the next steps for the Eagle permit. We can't, as a chapter, talk with Eagle without permission or an affidavit from the township. Otherwise, the township has to submit the permit request. So I just need to, I think Jay was going to provide some direction on that. So that's kind of, we're still in the holding pattern there.
Correct. Yep. It's on his list to get back to me. The building department's been running on a remote work schedule over the last few weeks, so I will touch base with him to remind him.
Okay, thanks, Emily.
Okay, it looks like that was the last caller with their hand up.
All right, Josh, you there. There you are. Unmute. There you go.
Yep. Yeah. So Lakes, the only additions I have from what I sent out on Friday was I just wanted to circle back. Last year, we talked about the wind screens and we took that to the township. I just wanted to kind of get an update on the status of that because we're kind of at that point where we're probably going to want to order some wind screens for the backstops. Last year, we talked about selling those as sponsorships, and then you guys wanted to take a look at getting the township logo on there. And then the only other real update from us that wasn't included was just some information I literally just sent Emily about an update to some posts. I don't know if you've been looped in, Bob, but we can't get the big telephone poles, but our contact was able to kind of do some research and give us some other possible options. So I passed that on to Emily.
Yep.
So
got it.
Other than that, pretty much like the other baseball folks and softball folks said, numbers are up this year. We more than doubled the registrations in the last 30 days. So that's pretty awesome. And
good.
We're up year over year from 2019, 2020 up over that. So it's exciting. It's going to be pretty sweet.
Parents want those kids out of the house.
Yeah, I think so, pretty much.
So this might be a good spot. I'll update the board unless Emily, were you going to do something about what we did at Hickory or no?
It's on the agenda.
Okay, then forget it. I'll wait. Oh, I do see that. Okay. I'm just excited to get there.
I guess so.
All right, do we have any other league or organization reports? All right, let's move on to item 2, Parks and Rec Department report. Em?
All right, I submitted a written report to you guys, but just to touch base, we're still serving meals at the senior center on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. We are seeing those numbers drop off in the warmer months. I think that's also, they're having hope that we're going to be able to open up some more here in the next couple months. So we are doing yoga and Tai Chi on Wednesdays. We are hoping by May that we can start adding some more activities for the seniors. We do have a Cinco de Mayo celebration scheduled for May 5th with hopes that we can gather outside and their first senior event for them. Taxes are still going good. We still have 2 days left for AARP taxes and people are still calling trying to get appointments, but we are completely booked at this time. So taking names and trying to get them helped as much as we can. Other than that, everything else is on the agenda as far as parks goes, unless you guys have any specific questions.
All right, thank you, Emily. Bob, Township Board report, item 3.
Item 3. So first off, as you guys can see on the screen, I'll welcome Johnny Walker. Johnny, welcome. Johnny was appointed and put his hand up the other day, and he's our newest member, I guess I would say, with Parks and Rec, and he's on for a 4-year term ending in February. That was one of the items we did. We did approve our mowing contract. As you guys know, we had our whatever was out there and the difference in the bidding, and so that went to the board, and that was approved. And you guys may have heard that we've had issue over the years with Lower Straits Lake and weed control and treatment of the lake, those type things. There was a meeting held. That was one of the requirements that we did with them. So that meeting was held, I think it was Wednesday. If Larry's on, he can give you an idea. But the intent was just in case you hear something on it, not that Parks and Rec has anything to do, but we have held the meeting to go through some things, and they're going to hammer it out. That SAD expires, I believe it's this year, so they need to get their act together to decide how that's going to be handled for future years. We also have, and that you may hear, a I'll call it a subcommittee. We call it the Township Property Management and Strategy Subcommittee. Emily's on it. There's several folks on it, reviewing all of the property that's listed that technically the township owns. Obviously, some of it's the township buildings are on it. A lot of it is our park areas, but believe it or not, there's a heck of a lot of lots out there that, whether we knew it or not, we own it. And the idea is, do we want to continue to own it? Is it something we can sell, whether it's a buildable lot or not? A lot of it's probably not, but neighbors to those lots might be interested in it, especially if they're encroaching on that property. As you know, we have a lot of our parkland that is encroached on, and we're starting to be a little more aggressive with telling neighbors, you know, get your stuff off our property, basically, in a nicer way, maybe a little nicer way. But some of this other property or lots that would not be able to be sold, if they're interested in it, we're going to come up with a pricing plan. We're not going to necessarily, we're going to probably have a small, medium, and large size price, and get those properties back on tax rolls. And so anyway, there's lots of those things going on as we're trying to clean up some of that property. You know, we get it by virtue of tax things. So if things go up for tax sale, and no one bids and no one wants it, it gets pushed to the township, whether we knew it or not. But we've got a lot of property that we got over the years in that fashion. So our bylaws, you guys all reviewed them last month. Those were approved by the township board. So our new bylaws are in place. We had, and which does affect some of the park buildings, but we are reviewing our security, I guess, our security company and our access into the buildings. We're looking for something that is hopefully one system that will control everything. So you have your little ID card, and depending on what level of access you need, and what buildings you may need to get into, those would be automated, and it'll track when you go, when you don't go, when you leave, those type things. The intent is for people that go to different buildings don't need to have, 75 Commerce Township keys or whatever it is. They can just flash the one card and get into whatever building it is. So that's being looked at, and we've actually found some interesting things from that. And that's all I had on last month's board. If you guys have any questions, let me know.
All right. Any questions for Bob? Okay, if not, let's move on to item number 4, the Parks Liaison Report. And Bob, might as well just continue with you on Victory Park.
Well, my parks, you can see some of them are on the agenda. We've been trying to kick them up a little bit to try and get some of the items looked at. So there are some parking things having to do, Wise Woods parking lot, those type things. So some of that's on there. Other than that, there's not a whole lot new. We were having, I think I reported last month that we were having some issues with people driving over our telephone poles and whatever because of all the snow. But hopefully, I haven't seen any too far back in there. I've seen a lot of cars parked on the side of the road, most of them walking dogs back in there. So they're starting to get a lot more use on both sides of the road, Wise and Victory. So,
Bob, I've got a question, comment, whatever you want to call. We've had a lot of people, I keep seeing them in the cemetery, the old burial grounds, that there were 2 cars this week and 1 truck. I saw the sheriff down by Byers, so I turned around to go, but the minute I got stopped at the traffic light, she, I don't know which, left. But they are parking, some of them seem to be parking on the flat stones. And so I did call the township and talk to them, whether they chased somebody away or not, but the same truck seems to be there a lot earlier in the morning.
So, okay. Emily, I know we talked about this offline. Is there property that we own? Where would it be? I guess it would be to the west of the cemetery that we could at some point make into a parking lot and access the park there and try and do a little better job of protecting our cemeteries.
Hold on, let me see if I can pull up a map real quick.
Can I share my screen? I have it up because I was actually
Yeah.
going to bring this up.
Okay.
All right. So this is the entrance to the library on the Commerce Road side. This is like the right of way for the power lines.
Right.
This is the cemetery entrance. And so before I knew it was a problem, I parked in the cemetery to access the park. And now we tend to park in like the side part right here by the library, and we ride our bikes here. And there's just a short part along Commerce Road, and then we usually ride through the cemetery and get into the park that way. But if we made this part here where the power lines are a little bit more clear, it would be really easy access. And there's a trail that connects here back to where the main trail is that connects at the cemetery. Another option might be parking at the fire station. There's a trail back from the fire station also that connects into the same trail system.
So Emily, do you have the actual, what the heck's that called?
Yeah,
That has our
the
true property
boundaries
lines on it? Yeah.
Yeah. Let me,
I mean, that's part of what the issue is. I mean, right of ways, we'd have to ask attorneys. I'm not sure what we can and can't do with right of ways, but I mean, we can't force people to go into somebody else's property.
I think
So
even if
we
we
just need to
put
look.
a sidewalk on the south side of Commerce Road over to the cemetery entrance, it's just maybe 100 or 200 feet. So you don't have to ride on the main road. We did that with all our kids on bikes this weekend and it worked out fine.
So whether we get it up or not doesn't matter. I mean, what I was getting at was those are things we are looking at trying to, I mean, to me, ideal would be to have something on that side so we don't have to force people to go on trying to dodge traffic, play Frogger to get across the road. But, and sometimes just getting out of the library can be challenging by car, depending on the time of day. So anyway, so I'm hopeful anyway, that I guess will be on the west side and whether it be near the fire department, but that there's be some access and we can create that to the south side of the park, along with whatever we're trying to do on the north side of the park.
seeing if I can find this.
Well,
We have access to the legal, I don't know what's it called, whatever the program is that has the actual property lines on there over the map.
Bill will probably remember this, but years and years ago, there was talk about developing more park by the fire hall where the little pond is to put picnic tables and things back there. So maybe that wouldn't be such a bad place.
Yeah.
I'm almost
You have the
done.
plat map?
I'm working. Go ahead and go to the next one. I'll pull this
All right.
up and then,
Well, Barb, we'll go to you since there's not much going on. You can't get to your park.
Yes, I can.
Oh,
I've
aha,
been there twice in 2 days. The direct, if you go down Decker Road, you can go east on 14 Mile, and Sunday the park was packed. I could not find a parking place, and I went again today to take a look. And Mark, God bless you guys. If they don't pick up, there's sure a lot of mess there. And Emily, are they going to keep both those driveways open?
no, it'll be just the original one when it's said and done.
Okay, but otherwise I couldn't go into the park. It was open, but no parking place. So things are getting better down that road.
okay. Is Welch closed at the intersection there?
No, it was open. I got through there.
Oh.
All right. Rachel, how about you on Dodge? Unmute, Rach.
Thought I hit it. Dodge has been super busy every time I'm there. Both the Scarlet Playground and the old playground on the north side are always full. There are, someone put some fairy gardens in the trails up kind of, what is it? North and east of the soccer fields. And then one question I had, oh, there's two things. Saturday afternoon, I did see some dirt bikes going through. It looked like they were going along South Commerce and then cut through the library, like fields and around behind the library, and then went over to Nike, it looked like. So it's something to keep watching for. And then the construction work on Newton, is that going as far back as the parks or is that stopping at Multi Lakes?
Actually, Jason's on right now. Yeah, there he is. He could answer more specifics on that project.
Yeah, that construction is going to go on the south side of that bypass drain, and it's going to go all the way to the south west corner of Commerce and Carroll Lake Road there, across from the 7-Eleven and connect to that pump station, and then it goes all the way down to the high school. So they are planning to be done with that project in June.
Is it going along the road or through the park to get there?
It's going through the south side of the drain in the park, and then it's going up the east side of Commerce Road. And then it's going to cross over west side of Commerce Road, South Commerce Road.
So Jason, I guess since you're on and we're sort of talking Dodge, we were over there today and looking through the new washroom facilities and had, I almost can't count the number of people. It was very busy today at 2:00 in the afternoon with a ton of kids over there. Asking about the washroom and getting it hooked up. Is the only issue we have waiting on the sewer connection, and that's due to the issues over on Newton Road? Is that what's holding it up besides?
Nope, I sent that email out to the board. The restroom should be open by the end of April. We came up with an alternate plan for the sewer discharge, so we're not connecting Newton Road, so we're not at the mercy of their slightly delayed schedule. So the plan is to open by the end of April at the latest. The grinder pump is I already met out with the contractor and they were going to start on that right away. So it's just some restoration. And as you can see, there's some fixtures and some painting that needs to be done, but that's all that's left for the contractor that's working for the township. So they said end of April is not a problem. They'll be done before that.
Perfect.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of happy people with that, I think, after today.
Yes.
We did get an outhouse order to go over there, though.
I don't know that, I mean, yes, they wanted bathroom facilities, so I'm sure an outhouse would suffice, but I think they were just more interested in when it was going to be available.
Kind of piggybacking on that in the construction project work, I have noticed that the parking has been super busy. There are days when like the first 3 rows are all the way full, and when there was a lot of snow in the parking lot and the back row was all snow, it was sometimes hard to even find a spot in the park.
Okay. Does anybody see this? Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So here's the cemetery. We don't own this chunk right here. See this?
Is that the school?
Yeah, it's school's property, yeah.
That's the school, right? Okay. And they don't really, oh, they have that one sliver of access, whatever that is. Okay.
Yeah. So we still have this little access here.
Right. Which might not be a bad idea to look at that.
Mm-hmm.
But what is not north, what direction is it? West of the library. What's that? Is that, I'm not the library, I'm sorry, the cemetery. So that oblong, feel like we're trying to fill in one of those games. So head west, right there.
Right here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's got to be a private owned piece.
Is it?
You don't think it's owned by the power company?
No.
Because it's
They
got
just
the power
steal
line
what they
right
want.
away.
They don't.
Yeah, but they just
They just get right away.
Yeah.
So Molly would know, wouldn't the treasurer or somebody would
Yep.
know who owns that, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we can find out.
And how,
What about the strip of woods that
Looks
it
like
looks
there's
like?
a house here.
There is.
There's a house right there.
well, I think that's encroaching. The house is the one that's further west, and I think it's encroaching back on that property. Now, I don't know whether he owns both or not. I don't know, but that's fine. Maybe not.
Nope, it's a house.
There you go.
They're
Yeah,
encroaching over here, or
they are.
encroaching, I guess.
So is there room that we own? Because if that's cemetery property, is that planned? Is this cemetery considered full, Barb? Do you happen to know?
Is it, I'm sorry, I didn't get that.
Well, I'm just looking at the property, that weird shape that's our piece of property is on the far west side of that piece. Bring your arrow straight down. No, that's not the cemetery. Where are you going?
Oh, I was on the cemetery, right there.
Well, the cemetery
right
has to
there.
be, yeah.
That's the cemetery, but what about the far west side by the street here? Is that right there? Is that,
That
that's
part's
not,
not developed right now.
yeah, but is that considered potential for grave sites or not? That's what I was trying to wonder what the,
There are grave sites over there, isn't there?
is
Yes.
there? I don't know. Maybe there
Yeah,
is. So it
there
goes all the way out there?
Yeah, they go
Okay.
right over to the edge, yeah.
Okay, okay. I was just looking for something that we could get a trail back there, but I guess not. Okay, we'll check on that other piece of property and see who owns it.
That
If it's got
piece,
if it's got a right of way,
Want me to share it again,
I don't know.
Jason?
no, that 299 piece, I just looked it up, is owned by a trust, and the address is in Rochester Hills, so it's not township owned.
Okay,
Who owns the piece
so
between?
they would never be able to sell it with a right of way running through the middle of it, would they?
I mean, that gas
I mean, what-
line's not going anywhere, so.
I know. So what the heck would you be able to do with that?
Trade them for one of the
All
other
right.
pieces you've got.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, maybe the east side.
Okay.
Okay.
On the
All right.
south side of the road, Emily, who owns the piece between the cemetery and the library?
Don't mind my,
We own that one piece there.
here,
Yeah.
we own that. That's
So
part
we
of
could,
that.
we could connect on the south side of the road and it would just have to be like a crossing.
Oh, yeah. We would just probably
That
want.
thing crossing Commerce Road, again, that's a tough deal with traffic. Certain times of the day, very difficult.
Yeah, it's easy on a Saturday afternoon though.
Yeah, but the thing is we put parking there and invite people to park there, and
Here's
Then-
my fear on that too, is then you would put a pathway through the cemetery, and we
Yeah.
just had a pathway go through the cemetery over, what
Benstein.
cemetery is that? And we had a lot of issues with that and are now.
One by
putting-
Benstein.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yes.
we can do a little bit more
guess my-
research though.
Yeah, I guess my whole point was that we are looking at that, Barb, trying to do what we can to clean that
Maybe
up.
we can put some signage in there now, though. If we put signage in there and then let the Oakland County Sheriff know, then they can do something about it. They can act on it so people aren't parking in the cemetery.
What
Yeah,
about
it
that little?
just-
We could take we didn't put that bridge in either. I mean, that the residents put that bridge in, so I don't know if that would keep people out. I mean, I don't know if that's really what you want to do. It is a good access point.
What about
It's
that little
just
piece
that-
coming off of Carroll Lake Road that we've seen? You could pave
could-
that.
Yep, you could do that and put it, and that's actually in the original concept is that's where
Right.
you have them coming in, and then you could put a parking lot back there, and I think ideally that
Well,
looks like,
that's what we looked at, accessing back to go around again, where we were talking about the nature center back there in that area.
And
Yeah.
the trail connects right there, right now.
I mean, right now, ideally, like I say, that looks like our best option for sure.
That's a tough road. That's about
Yeah.
the width of one car. So that's one way in, and I don't know if you're parking back there, that it becomes a coordination issue, but over time anyway. So
Is it really far north of the 7-Eleven or is it pretty close?
yeah, it's pretty far north, I think. I'd say it's almost halfway from 7-Eleven corner to the Carroll Lake Wise Road corner. I mean, there's a gate there if you pay attention, and you're going to have to look because there's weeds and woods and all over.
Yeah,
But there's a gate, and it's only the width of that gate. It's like 8 to 10 feet or whatever. It's not a whole lot. It's not real wide. And probably we have encroachment there too. I don't know. I haven't really looked at that yet.
That either. All right, we can do some research on it.
Yeah, all right, let's,
Thank you.
all right, who we got next? Sarah,
I knew it was gonna be me. Just finishing a bite.
Oh. I'll go if
So
you
I,
want.
no, that's okay. I walked through Mill Race today. Everything looked, there isn't any more spray paint than normal. Bridges are fine. One thing I did notice was there are a couple areas in the pathway where there's like logs that you have to balance on to get across. I don't know if that's something that we fix or we just kind of let be, but
Across the river. Are they
yeah,
crossing the river?
yeah, there's like a couple of like, I mean, they're substantial. I mean, I did just fine in flip flops, but just worried about, or just wanted to bring up, if we do something, are we then taking on liability? If we don't do something, are we making ourselves liable?
Well, Sarah, does it look like someone laid logs across that were laying down and made a little footbridge, or?
I mean, they don't look like they're trees that naturally fell. And they're not even running, they're running, like they're not running horizontally, they're running vertically across. So you have to like once.
Oh, I see what you're saying. I'll have to go.
But they look like cut logs.
So it looks like somebody dragged them in and made some sort of crossing.
Right. But without any crossing at all, you'd be halfway up your shin in muck.
Are they, whereabouts are they? We can go over and take a look.
I know the area she's talking about.
You do?
Yeah, somebody did make a bridge over there so they could, it was all mucky.
Is it back in the back section of
It's
Mill Race?
towards the northeast. If you take the trail for the back behind 7-Eleven, you go north. Go to the north side.
Yep.
Before the bridge, and we've seen that before.
Okay.
I don't think anybody can get hurt on it because we've walked, across it when we trim up the pathway so when it's overgrown. So if you want to take a look, better wear your boots.
Yeah, don't wear flip flops. What else? I mean, I picked up a little bit of garbage here and there. The only other thing that I noticed was kind of floating garbage, which really chaps my behind. It's one thing if you leave garbage on the side of the trail, it's easy to pick up, but how are we supposed to fish it out of the river? So just a concern I thought I'd bring up. Nothing really that we can do about it. There's multiple garbage cans there and just venting in the, empty beer bottles in the river,
Yeah.
It's a bummer, but other than that, park is beautiful. Bridges look great. There was a lot of activity there today. Met a lot of people, so it was good.
All right. Thank you.
Thank
Linda.
you.
Looks like it's moving, but I see we have it on item 9, so I'm sure we'll have more discussion about it there, but it's in full swing, people walking, people biking, and people playing baseball.
Great. All right, we'll move on to me and buyers, and nothing new to report there. It's just, again, people are finally getting outside and starting to enjoy some of our parks. So that's a good thing. All right. Oh, Jenny, what have you got for us?
I found out Friday that I will be heading up, was it Maple Glen and also Windmill Farm? I will be making my way there for the first time to Maple Glen this week, but I've been by Windmill Farm several times, and I can second the parking lot is amazing. It's great to see. It was nice to be able to get in and out of that parking lot this winter without getting stuck. I think it's really coming along, especially the roof without the leaks. So I will be checking out both of them more as time goes on.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Okay, I think I got everybody right. All right. Village of Wolverine update. Anything, Linda?
I got nothing.
All right, let's move on to item 6 then. See how fast we got through that, Linda?
I love it.
Mark, what do you got for us?
All right, Scarlett's Playground, everybody's right, it is getting packed. We set up that it's gonna be clean 7 days a week before anybody gets there. Just to assure everybody, winter is gone, we're cleaning all the parks out. You've seen the trash at Mill Race, it'll be cleaned up hopefully by the end of the week. Along the roadside, we did South Commerce and Oakley Park, and the M5 bridge is cleaned on both sides and in the center. Let's see here. Working for a price for the bleacher pads, Emily.
Okay.
We'll get that to you hopefully before the next meeting. The well at Maple is gonna get disinfected. Hopefully do the water sample by the end of the week. 7 to 10 days before we get the samples back. Bill, Bicentennial.
Yes.
The pavilion. It needs painting. So you have
I've
to
got
pick
it
out
in
the
my
colors.
budget. Just get the rollers out.
You have to pick out the colors. I can have the people at the church paint it for you.
No,
There you go.
I'm an earth tone guy.
me
Yeah.
too.
Well, as long as somebody else picks
No.
out the colors, we're good.
I want the
that's
blue
it.
roof.
That's it. We'll get the parts
Bob, you want
cleaned and
blue?
pick everything. Just pick out your colors, please.
All right.
I'll help him.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay, is that it?
that's it.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Item number 7, pathways, Dodge Park, Richardson.
So I sent this out today, and Jason's on to answer any questions, but this is going to go over the pathway projects that we talked about last month. So there's the Richardson Center sidewalk, and then there is the Dodge Park, which is up by the library, which we are looking to use CDBG money to cover that. So update on that. I finally heard back from the people over at CDBG at the county level, so I'm hoping to be able to get the reprogramming of those funds on for the April Township Board meeting so that we can start this project getting bid out.
So Emily, we can't use the CDBG money for both of them, or do we only have a certain amount?
No, we can, we have enough, but they haven't been very easy to get in touch with. I spent the last month trying to get the response I got today. So once I get that one going, because
When you say they, is that a county thing?
yes. And so it's different program years. So when I do the reprogramming, I cannot reprogram it as a lump sum. I have to reprogram it based on program years. So once we get the program years satisfied to do the pathways up at the north section of Dodge, then that'll give them time to give me approval on these pathways, and we'll see how much of that they're going to cover. But we definitely have enough money to cover both of these projects if that's the road we choose to go down.
Yeah, I like this one. This is a nice picture, drawing, whatever.
So this
Mhm.
is the Richardson Center path. So Jason did some work on bringing this around the building so that it's not just a stub to the new deck. You can see that it does go to the deck and puts a ramp so that it does make that deck ADA accessible, but then it continues the pathway around the building. And then you can see where the future pathway goes off, and that would make the connection to the current pathway that's back in the woods behind the Richardson Center. So does anybody have any questions or comments on this one? Like I say, Jason's on, so he can answer.
Yeah, we tried to match up with the master plan that Living Lab put together, but obviously there'll be a path to the northwest off of that trail around the back eventually too, is what they had in their master plan.
Looks good.
So that right now is estimated at $47,292.60, and I can keep working on my end as far as that.
That's a pretty specific estimate, 60 cents.
It's because Jason's that good.
I can round up next time.
Round down.
Yeah, unfortunately, it only goes up.
Okay, so this takes us back to the pathways at the north section of Dodge, the library. EC softened the edges of them. This is the layout over the topo map you had, is that correct?
Yeah, I think we just used the aerial with the existing topo. We went out and shot some more topo on this too, but it's pretty flat throughout that whole area.
So
So Jason, last month, there was potential concern with the piece that's running next to the road. Oh, my marker doesn't help on you guys. How much space is between the road and the sidewalk? Do you know roughly?
The driveway coming into the library?
Right
here.
Yeah, right there. The concern was kids could be walking on that and take off and shoot over to the driveway, and cars are coming in that way. So I just was curious if there's enough time for mom or somebody to grab the kid before they hit the road. How much do you know roughly what estimate on what that is?
I think it's at least 10 feet because it's at least as wide as a parking spot.
Well, if that pathway is 10 foot wide, correct?
These are 5 foot wide sidewalks.
Okay, 5 foot wide.
Yeah, at Richardson, we did 6 foot.
Okay.
Okay.
So we would add another ramp at that north end of the parking lot where there isn't one. There's already a ramp at the south end. And then we would connect everything so you could basically get everywhere from the parking lot to either of the play areas and the pavilion at somehow. And it was almost the most direct ways that I could walk. So that's kind of why we put the paths there.
In the top area, play area, that's where the swing set is?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, I'm good
What
with it.
are you looking for us on something? What are you looking for us,
I
Emily?
just want you to be happy with the layout so that once we get approval from the board and the county, we can start the bidding process.
You want a motion on that? Do we need one or?
Sure. I like motions.
Let's have a motion, guys and gals.
Motion to move forward with the sidewalk projects as described in this document.
Second,
Seconded by Barbara. Who seconded?
I did.
All right. Motion by Cass, seconded by Garbett to go ahead with the proposed plan on the pathways for Richardson and the library. Any further discussion? Since there is no discussion, I'll call for a roll call vote.
Cast.
Yes.
Garbett,
Aye.
Champagne,
Yes.
Walker,
Aye.
Henderson,
Yes.
Burkheiser,
Aye.
Hesh.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on now to item number 8 on your agenda, the Regina Music Box location display.
So Allison Lober, our librarian, has reached out to the company that's done all of their furnishing within the library and seeing what they will charge us to build a box to contain the music box to keep it safe. And then I've got a couple other leads out there that I'm working with to get some pricing on some cases.
Okay, does that be like a plexiglass box or something of that nature?
That's what we're thinking, but we want to make sure that the plexiglass is good plexiglass so that it's not scratched up and, you know. We listen, these days we've seen a lot of bad plexiglass, okay?
All
We
right.
don't want any of that.
I didn't know that we had a plexiglass problem. All right, we'll watch that, make sure it's clear plexiglass on that.
Okay, that's good.
Okay. Moving on to item number 9, the Hickory Glen concept plan.
Okay,
What do we got
hold
on
on.
that?
Let me share my screen again. Look at me getting professional.
You're doing a great job there, Emily.
Yeah, don't doubt my sharing my screen. Okay, so you guys have seen this before, and the last time you saw it, it's not gonna, the entry into the park was across from Laguna here. So we've gone out and looked because we just, and Jason, I'm gonna ask you to help me because you talked to Wolverine, and so maybe you can help me give the proper update on what they said. But we went and looked, and the idea is if it's not going to cost a ton of money more, if it's going to be relatively the same, why would we put a temporary entrance in here? Why wouldn't we put it down here and make it more of a permanent entrance? And then we actually walked the site with Lakes Athletics, and they had concern as well as us about the parking spots along these fields here because people just aren't going to use them, which means they're going to end up making their own parking. So we wanted to, again, focus on giving some kind of organization, but still keeping the park feel. So we don't want to go in, we don't want to clear a bunch of trees, we don't want to lay a bunch of asphalt down. We want to use what we have, but make parking pods, make it more organized, which is what you're going to see here. Within this dotted line here, that's still going to be considered overflow parking. I think it's going to be tough to do after walking the site without removing a bunch of trees. So that's still up for discussion. But over here is completely cleared out where we can put in a couple rows of parking. So the idea is to come in here. This is going to be a drop-off zone. So this is already in existence. So you're going to have a lot of parents who may be running late. They can pull in, drop their kids off. Kids can disperse. They can then go park their car since there's a lot of parking around this way too. And then down here is just going to be a turnaround. So they can either, if they skip this turnaround, they can come down here, do their turnaround, leave here, or come back around and leave. So I think this addressed a lot of the issues that Lakes had. I think that it addressed a lot of issues that our subcommittee had. I think that it's organizing the parking, reducing the safety issues we have over there. Can you see that?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. So this is the new cost estimate, which I actually haven't had time to go through piece by piece, but by moving the entryway, it looks like it did drive the cost up. So I need to look more into that.
Now, we'd have both the westerly and the easterly entrances.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
so
those
Bill,
would be
what we looked at
Bill?
when we went over was originally was for an emergency, which is what we've been discussing. But if we can get it in this place, and depending on what the cost is, you know, maybe we just make this a permanent entrance. What we're hoping is that it stops all the backup, although it's, you know, it's during game times, but the backup you would have of people trying to get out of the park by, you know, the thought being the three ball fields that are at the eastern side of that road there would probably head out through that entrance / exit if it was considered a more permanent one. Now, we're not looking for paved roads or anything like that. It'll be a paved entrance. I think that's what that is.
Yes,
Right.
So that was our original idea, was to look at those costs. Part of it, and to be honest, I was really pushing for the road further east, but just standing there looking at it, I can't read the word, but whatever it's was across from. If you're standing there, yeah, cars come up over the hill and you don't see them right till the last minute. So by moving it, whatever that is, 100 feet or more down further west, I mean, we stood out there and you have plenty of time to see vehicles. I mean, the speed limit in theory is 35, but so, and it's right across from the parking lot to the Wolverine Lake. So we were thinking that hopefully that'll go through. I don't know if you did, Jason, did you have contact with the road commission / Wolverine on whether we would be able to do that or not?
Well, Glengarry is strictly the Wolverine's road. So I did talk to their engineer and he took it to their council and they were in general agreement with this location. Maybe it has to be offset from the village office slightly. Just the engineer was concerned about people turning in and turning out, but it wouldn't move that much. They were in general agreement.
That's minor.
Yeah. So it would all be permitted through the village.
Okay.
And then the crosswalk is farther to the east. And then the other crosswalk is farther to the
Yes.
west of all this work, right? So it kind of
Correct.
distinguishes between them.
Yep.
The crosswalk is right across the street from the party store.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's down.
Perfect.
And the other further
Question about those four, you were talking about those four parking spots that are on the baseball side?
These.
Yeah, were we planning at one point in time, we were talking about where you were gonna put some handicap parking?
Yeah, and that's an idea. We had talked about maybe making all of this up here handicap parking, but they were pretty confident that people aren't going to park there because of the fly balls or foul balls, I guess. So these were left, and I mean, we could identify those as handicap parking, and Josh is on, so
Yeah,
Josh, do you know
there
how
was-
much need?
Yeah, I think from a handicap parking, honestly, it's probably going to be a pull up, drop off, because just with the terrain, even with us leveling it and putting down some millings, like I just don't see somebody meandering over there with the crutches. I mean, Jared, when he was there walking with us, he had a bum foot, and we just had to leave him, and he drove his truck around because it just didn't facilitate his broken foot.
Well, handicapped people aren't always disabled. There's people with lung cancer and respiratory issues that come to
True.
see their grandkids and they just can't walk. They drive themselves and they just can't walk very far, I guess. So, I mean, my feeling is it's a community park and there needs to be some designated, but there's also lots of
Yeah, I
people that
think
have
the
handicap stickers that aren't handicapped at all and they'd use those spots, so.
Yep, I would say the best.
I've got one
probably
of
the
those.
best spots would be like there's that little group in between the two fields when you first come in. Yeah, a little bit to the left there, Emily. Like I would say those four, just to the right of where you're. Yep, right in there would probably be a good spot. That get access to field 3 and 4, and then I probably would say more towards the right. There's that little tiny subgroup of 4, and then there's an open space kind of right in front of field 5, like field 6, like to the right more. Yeah, like right too far, more to the left. Keep going, like
here?
right in there.
Okay.
Those would probably be my recommendation. I think those 4 that we were talking about, that's like 250 feet away from home plate from the nearest field. So, I think that'd still probably be kind of a long walk for somebody. It's also like quasi uphill. And then of course I'd probably put maybe 1 or 2 over by field 7 dedicated to that field. But
In here, you could put
yeah.
some back here as well.
yeah, but I wouldn't, I personally, I would prefer them to be more towards the middle by the concession stand than out kind of on their own, like those 4 are. That just me personally, like I said.
Well, you use
I mean,
it, so
as you get close to, but as you get close, it doesn't do me any good to park handicapped by the concession stand and have to go to field 1. So I'm just saying that, I think deciding on a couple handicap spots at each field or within reason is good.
Sure.
That turnaround, the way it's described, I mean, when you go and look at the drop-off turnaround thing, there's a heck of a lot of room in there. And we had actually talked about, hopefully this comes to fruition, but down the line, putting a pad in there and a potential for a pavilion so that, raining or whatever, as people are waiting to get picked up, you can be underneath there. And that can be also sort of a handicap. I call it grandma, grandpa can sit out there and watch ball fields, assuming they're playing on those 2 fields in that area. So there was a lot of that discussion. So I think this is certainly a move in the right direction.
agreed.
And Linda, we appreciate Wolverine working with us there.
So if you guys are good with this, I would like a motion to at least approve the concept so that we can take this to the board and hopefully get board approval to get things rolling so that we can seek
We
bids.
have this funded, right, Em?
This was budgeted, correct?
Yes, that's what I thought.
We
So the
budgeted $250,000 for this project.
And it's
Came in at
expected here at
284,
about
but-
285.
And Jack, what is the Lakes putting in?
They're putting in
we're
the
gonna
other
write you an
285.
IOU. Yeah, we're gonna write you an IOU.
They are actually helping us tremendously trying to get the utility poles. and
Just
stuff,
kidding.
so- Well, come
just
on
work-
now.
Just working on God. That's all. All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. Motion by Champagne, seconded by
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Walker to approve the concept plan for Hickory Glen parking. And what else we need to include in that, Amy? That it?
That's good. We'll
Park-
take it to the board.
All right. Any further discussion? No further discussion. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Champagne,
Yes.
Walker,
Yes.
Burkheiser,
Aye.
Cast,
Yes.
Garbutt,
Aye.
Henderson,
Yes.
Pesh.
Aye.
Motion carried unanimously.
Very good. All right. Since we're moving on to item 10, that's going to be back at Bob there, Wisewood parking lot. Is that you, Bob, or is that M?
Hopefully it's Emily. I've got questions on it, so.
All right.
Hold on, I'm trying to find I think I included it in your packet, didn't I?
Yeah, we've got some of it.
It's in the same memo, Emily, if you're looking for the estimate.
Oh, yeah, you have that there. Okay.
I guess my thing is where are we looking at putting this on the Wise Woods? Is it the Wise Woods side? So it's the,
Yes.
the north side of the road? Okay.
So the cost estimate, there's some information, and the cost estimate was $214,203.78 just for you, Bob.
And is this where the current kind of little pull off is that's on the north side?
It looks like this is right across the street from where the
Thought I had it better.
entrance.
That's what I was trying to figure out. Is it across from sort of where the 10 cars park on the south side, or is it where there's only a couple can park? I wasn't sure where
It's across
where this
from
was.
where we always park to go into the park.
Yeah, where the 10 cars are.
Okay.
Bob.
Right. And what I was confused about is, Jason, is this going to require road work done on, what the heck is that, on Wise Road?
Yes.
Acceleration, decel. So it's going to require the county road work. Is that?
Well, we already got a permit. This project was bid in 2016 and the bids came in high. So I'm working with the road commission to renew their permit, and the permit was what you see on the plans here. So there's no acceleration, deceleration lanes. It's just the approach, and there's a culvert that goes under the side, under the approach is all. So that's what they approved.
Oh, okay. So there isn't any major Wise Road work that needs to be done.
Back in
Just-
2016, they weren't requiring that, but that's when we had that meeting with them, and they did tell us that they would be requiring a lot of the road work when we started to develop the south side.
I have it in for permit reissuing right now. So I've talked to them. I
Okay.
said the plans haven't changed, and I'm hoping that they just reissue that old permit. So I assume that they're not going to make us add anything else. What I did do on this one is, I think the original bid had the flashing beacons and a crosswalk across to the south. And
Here.
yeah, and so it's my understanding that we don't want that, and that's about $100,000 difference. So you do want to add that. The flashing beacons are not cheap, and talking to Emily, it sounds like you do not want a crosswalk across there.
No, we're hoping to develop the south side, on its own, Jason. I mean, that's part of the plan down the road, is hopefully not too far down the road, is to make that entrance where we will have to probably have a DXL lane, and then take it back to where we want the pavilion and some parking back there, get people off the road.
And the other thing that's different from the last bid is that, in talking to Emily, it sounded like it made more sense to just do the paving now, to pave it asphalt instead of having the gravel for the parking lot. So that's how we did the estimate with asphalt.
So when you say asphalt, is that millings or is that paved
That's
road.
Actual paving. Paved parking lot, so
And
it'll be a 4-inch parking lot, solid.
We were trying to make it more attractive to contractors. And so after
Okay.
talking with Jason, when you just do the millings or gravel, then you have more than one contractor coming out, which could potentially make it less appealing because it's already a smaller project.
Well, and if you're gonna pave it in the future, you wanna get the quantity of, the smaller amount of asphalt you have. If you're just doing the approach, the cost per ton is gonna be astronomical compared to doing a larger paving project that it makes sense for them to move their equipment in and order truckloads. So.
In the drawing,
So
can you explain what's coming off to the right? Is that going to be like a gravel or a dirt trail?
That's it's a limestone that has fines in it, so you can actually ride a bike and probably even roll a stroller on it or something. But it's going to have a gravel base, and then we're going to put fines on top of it. So that's smaller stone that'll fill in the gaps and make it more of a smoother surface. But it's not pavement; it's aggregate.
And then the one going off to the top left is connecting to the existing trail there, it looks like.
Yes, all those paths are going to be aggregate gravel paths. The only thing that's paved is the approach and the actual sidewalk, or the actual parking lot, sorry.
So Emily, was this part of a grant program we were looking to apply for, or no? Okay.
No. This was a project that's always been on our list to rebid out, and we never did. And it seems month after month, we talk about the cars parked on the road. And so it seemed like
Yeah.
this might be a good idea to,
So from a budget point of view, so we just looked at something that was 280, and this is, I don't know what this is. Let's say it's 220. So we're looking at $500,000. Do we have that
yes.
money? The money lady? Okay.
Well, we've got to do something over there because it's been years and we haven't done a thing to
Right.
wise it.
Oh,
So-
I mean, I absolutely agree, but I want to make sure that we have
Yeah,
the
no,
money
I
to
think
do
we
it.
budgeted this over and over, Bob, to
We
get
did.
that done. And some of the bids came in so high that we just kind of, let's
Well,
try
I
again.
understand. I understand that we budget stuff, and if we don't spend it, it just rolls over. But that doesn't mean we saved it and didn't spend it at the bathroom facility at Dodge. I mean, I just want to make sure that if we're
No, we
looking to
have.
recommend to the board to spend $500,000 and get this stuff moving, which I agree, but I just want to make sure that once the bathroom's paid for and everything else, that the money will be there. That's all.
We have it. We're good.
I think this one's really important too, because across the street, like the dirt parking lot is in really, really rough shape
Yes.
after the winter.
All right. I guess we
So-
need a motion, right, Em?
Yeah, that's right.
Make
Well,
the
I'll make a motion that, somebody else is volunteering there.
I'll
Anyone?
make the motion to
Thank
move
you.
forward with getting bids for the parking for Wise Road Park, or Wise Woods side of the park.
I'll support it. All right, any further discussion? There's no further discussion. I need a roll call vote on the motion by Ms. Cass to approve the Wisewood parking lot. What else?
Yeah.
Project.
Project, yeah.
Got it. Cast,
Yes.
Pesh,
Aye.
Scarlett,
Aye.
Henderson,
Yes.
Walker,
Aye.
Champagne,
Yes.
Burkheiser.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Jason.
Yes, thank you, Jason.
You're welcome.
All right, let's move on to item number 11, parks use policy. What have we got with that?
Well, this has been on our radar for a while too, and since we're almost reaching completion of our parks donation policy, we felt that it was time to get serious and work on this, especially with all of our new COVID restrictions that we are still under, and the amount of requests that come in to host events in our parks. I will say that this is actually a hard kind of policy to pinpoint down amongst other local communities. I guess probably because we don't know what road you want to take with it. So we've listed a bullet point list here of questions that it's a starting point to help guide us into how you want to manage our parks. So I guess what stems this is a lot of years ago, we had a request by a private individual to host a movie in our park. So it was a private individual who wanted to put on a public event without requiring insurance. And we were advised by our attorneys at that time that once you allow one group, even if it's an individual, to host something like this in our parks, and we have a really hard time telling anybody else no. And they advised at that time that we need to really sit down and set guidelines as to what we will allow within our parks. We've managed that way with our insurance requirements. Usually that helps people not want to do it anymore once they realize that we're going to require them to hold their own insurance for an event. But now it's getting to the point that we have individuals who want to have graduation parties, rightfully so, but they want to put up a tent in the park. Okay, so to me, that's now they're putting a tent up in a public park, staking claim to that area, and hosting a party within our park. Is that the road you want to go down? Is that the direction you want to go down, or do you want to steer them to the pavilions? There's obvious things on here like the ATVs we already prohibit. That's within our ordinance. Motorized vehicles within park, except for designated roads. All parks and pavilions are open to the general public. No individual organization can prohibit use to the general public, but I do see us having to revisit this with as many calls and emails that we get regarding Scarlet Smile. So once Mark gets his department established, we may need to revisit this and come up with a new policy for that. No overnight camping, no fires, follow noise ordinances, no hunting on township property, carry in, carry out. Should you host an event within the park, you must remove all garbage after your event. Destruction of property, photography, video, audio recording. I mean, right now, and I still agree that, if it's a private individual, they can go and take photographs within our parks. They do that a lot at Buyers. Alcoholic beverages, tent, tables, and chairs, which I went over, reserving ball and soccer fields, insurance waivers, and then portable toilets. So that came up because we did have a resident who wanted to host their birthday party at Scarlet Smile. They wanted to have it early this month. There was no outhouse, so they just called to ask if they could bring in their own outhouse, which was explained that's not a problem whatsoever, but the township would not be responsible for any damage or anything like that happened to that. So at this point, it's discussion. How do you want to move forward?
Well, one of the things on your first item up there was the tents, putting up I'm sure they're talking about a 20 by 30 or something like that, like a wedding tent.
Yes, large tents.
Yeah, I'm totally against that. We have pavilions, and if that isn't adequate, I don't see that we're going to allow, my opinion, them to bring a tent company in and put up a tent and claim an area, which would then encompass a lot of area by the time you're done with whatever events you're having along with your party and people and stuff. And I'm against that personally.
Well, not to mention you've also got a ton of people. If you're having a party, X amount of cars, every family comes in with a car.
Right.
And parking's always an issue, like out at Scarlet's Park. And so to add that onto it is kind of.
Well, and I would hate to see somebody set a tent up on a soccer field because they don't realize there's irrigation lines, or, they don't realize the damage that some of that can cause. And so.
Correct.
I mean, at this point, Emily, the only one I can think of that we could put it would be at Richardson Center. I mean, if I
We
guess
allow it
everybody
with
felt
the renter.
strongly enough. What's that?
We do allow a tent, if they rented the facility, we have allowed them to put tents up at that point.
So they can put a tent up that sort of goes up next to the porch area,
Correct,
and they
but
can
they
do
have,
that?
anybody who wants to have a tent request has to get approval by the township supervisor to do so.
Haven't we also had tents for the concerts in the park?
We haven't, we've always
Good.
discussed it, but we never have had to do it.
They didn't have them over by the food the first year that we did it.
Food people brought
Oh,
them.
the little
Well,
ones,
they have
yes,
those
like the little
pop-up
canopies.
windows.
Yeah.
They weren't that big? Okay.
No, they were just pop-ups.
Well, we're not talking about a pop-up tent, are you? I mean, if I show up
No.
at
No, we're
Dodge and
talking about
put one of those
party.
10 by 10s up, yeah, that's what I mean. Okay.
No, I'm
Because
talking
you can
about,
put pop-ups at a soccer game.
You're talking about party
We're
tent.
talking about 20 by
Right.
40s and
right.
bigger.
I don't
large-
pay a lot of attention to stuff like that. I just know
So- I would say like the little 10 by 10s we would allow, because a lot of the baseball folks or the soccer folks probably put those up
Right.
to sit under for shade. It's the larger tents.
But you're not nailing those into the ground, basically. Not staked and large poles and everything that's involved in setting up a 20 by 30 or 40 tent.
And so the other thing that's come up a lot is we have businesses who call and want to hold their classes within the park. And so, I mean, this kind of goes right back to the tutors in the library, right? Like it's a public facility. They're using public property to make money off of. We've denied them because we didn't have a policy set forth. And so that's another topic that I think that we need to discuss of how you want to move forward with that. Because how do you designate what type of business is allowed to and what type of business isn't allowed to?
Well, we've always been to the political rallies, no. Nonprofits, yes. Anybody that's in for profit in our parks is a no. That's been basically our policy all along.
So
I'm
you
not
want
sure, I mean,
Go ahead, Bob.
well, you need to make sure however you word it. I get the intent of what Bill's saying, but
Yeah.
it's like saying, okay, you can't put political signs up, but you can put these signs up. Well, there's certain things you just we can't say or do. Honestly, I think if you're looking at cutting down things, maybe allowing it one of our parks is the way we cut it down the request. Yes, we only allow that, but you only allow it at Richardson if you're renting the Richardson facility because you're going to want to use bathrooms and everything else. So, maybe something like that, because then it becomes only at the Richardson Center. They have to rent the building, so there's a cost to that. Plus, there's the cost of putting the tent up. And if that's what they choose to do, then fine. Somebody's going to have I don't know the word. That's just a thought. There may be, because then that allows us to say, people could argue. I mean, you can make the argument, okay, the Boy Scouts were out there camping for 3 days in that summer, so there's our camping thing, but you allowed them to do it, but now you have a church group that might want to go do it and you're saying no or whatever. I mean, we might need to think that if we have certain requirements and at certain facilities, so no, they can't camp at Maple Glen Park in between the baseball fields or something, whatever, I don't know where, but it's just a thought. We might want to run something like that past the attorneys on your next conversation.
We could actually use the same language that we use on the Richardson Center policies too. That defines the nonprofit organizations that would still have to come before this board for approval. It's not like anybody we're talking camping, so let's talk camping. One group couldn't just decide they want to camp and set up camp for the weekend. They would need to come to parks for approval to do that.
Emily, is there anything in the verbiage that states that whomever's reserving it needs to be a Commerce Township resident?
No, we changed that at the Richardson Center, but we can put that in here. I think it's going to be tough to enforce, because they'll just have a Commerce resident rent it for them.
Yeah, but still, there's a little bit, at least that person has to be somewhat responsible,
Little, hometown pride kind of deal. Okay, we can
I
look
don't
at
know.
that. Yeah.
It's just a thought. I mean, you can get to them if damage is done, they're on the tax roll. You know what I mean? It's.
Yeah, no, the Richardson Center used to be that way for years. So absolutely, I get it. Allison, am I missing anything that has come up in the last few months that you and I had discussed that you?
I don't think so. Like you said, the biggest thing right now is, I mean, we get calls every day to reserve the pavilion over at Scarlet Smile. And then with graduation parties coming up, the amount of calls that we get for people that just want to have their party within the park. And I'll say part of that is because Richardson is either already booked or we're not open. So they just want to go to one of the parks and set up tent and bring in tables and chairs to have a graduation party.
Yeah, yeah. I think we ought to look into is finding a vendor that would be our tent vendor, that we know what we're getting from them, where they're going to place the tent, how they put it in, stake it instead of having.
You mean
whoever-
at the center? Like we
Yeah,
could have, okay.
Yeah. And I know there's a few around and we could just, all right, you want a tent? It's going through Suburban Tents or whoever,
I
Emily,
would say if we have a couple options, because I hate to say it, but with the caterer,
Yeah.
narrowing it down to just one is been difficult for people.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
one
Well,
kid.
I think we should select our vendors though that now.
Right,
we've got
but
to
if you
hold
have
them-
more than one,
Yeah, just to hold, the responsibility that we don't
Sure.
have fly by
Approved.
night guy coming in, putting up a tent and
Yep, I
then
agree.
doing damage or something like that to the grounds or.
Make sure they
driving-
have the insurance they need to cover any damage they may cause. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's a good idea. So have an approved list of vendors.
Right.
Maybe some of those properties that we own that are doing nothing could be designated as party tent places.
Party places. We just got an email, wanted to know how to rent a party place.
Oh, Linda, you gonna go brush hog those out for us?
You bet. I'll bring my goats.
Okay. Here you go.
so
I think
I have a question for Bob. Do you kind of want to look at having different requirements for different parks?
Well, I honestly was more thinking from trying to keep it out of Scarlet. I mean, I don't want them putting tents up over at Dodge. I don't think there's any place that they could. Maybe on the north side over by the library, but the trees there might be one square area where there could be tents over there, but I think if we're going to allow that, we have to define what that area is. And I like Bill's idea to have a couple vendors so they know where those areas are. And if you're going to do it, maybe at Richardson, where else? I don't know. Do we want it over at Bill Centennial? I don't think so.
No.
I don't think we want them over at the ball field parks, but I get the idea. I mean, if you have to be lucky enough that you've got property enough that you can put a tent up for a graduation party or a house, great. But if you have a small place and you can't put a facility up, I get the idea that you're looking for something to do.
Sure.
So I'm trying to be conscious of that. But on
Well,
the other
Bob,
hand,
so-
I don't want it ruin all our stuff either.
It's got to be long-term too. So I know I use that as an example for today, but developing this policy, we have to think of the long-term of the park. So things are going to change. I personally don't think we should allow tents.
And
I just,
one of the things that at Bicentennial, we do have a gazebo there.
we do.
And that with Mark, a new paint job and stuff like that, spruce that up, that becomes a rentable area or a usable area for that matter, right?
Well,
Roof is
maybe we
good.
look at reserving the pavilions. I mean, I do think that day is coming for us.
Yeah, yeah. And I think that would be a location that we could say, go look at this. There's plenty of parking. It's not that it would be congested in and out. I mean, the traffic that's using that park isn't like Sarah's, Sarah Smile and Dodge. So it is a good spot to be able to do that, like Richardson Center, is that could be a
Who's using
designated
that
area,
building?
but the pavilion is there already. So
Who uses that Fisher building?
There's a church over there. Oh, you mean the pavilion itself?
No, the building that used to be Commerce, you know what I mean? Isn't
There's
there
a church. There's a church that leases it from the township.
yeah.
But there's
They
a
had
pavilion
bathrooms
over
in
in
there,
Long
that's why.
Park. So Emily, maybe you need to research or have your team research how we want to handle the pitfalls of handling a rental policy. So, Yeah, that's nice. They can call you and say, hey, I want it Sunday from 1 to 5. But that then means, and maybe it's done by, Mark's weekend staff, if that's how it, I don't know what that process is, but if I'm over there screwing around and then people are coming in saying, well, I rented this play. I mean, there needs to be a formalized way to do it.
Yeah.
If that's what you're proposing for all our pavilions.
Over at Long, I've been there. There's been kids' birthday parties under that pavilion quite a few times that they just go. But the parking there is the problem for any larger type event. But
that's true. Yeah, that's true.
Party there at Long, and I don't think we could do that one as a feasible event because we don't have parking.
No.
But like at Bicentennial, there's plenty of parking there in that parking lot and overflow to the left also. So that's where I think we limit it to a very restricted area and we'll spruce it up.
I think the areas that have pavilions, we should look at those to see what's reasonable. If that's something that maybe where's our concept plan for Richardson? Is there a pavilion in that? I don't think we've ever talked about that in the past. So.
Well, I mentioned a long time ago that we ought to have some small pavilion over by the play area.
Playground.
At Richardson?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, it could go, you could put a small pavilion over, I don't know what small is, but whatever, 20 by 20 at what would it be? The north side of the kids' playground up in that area.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking.
Who would enforce it? So like if we did start renting out these pavilions,
who
would enforce it?
So that would be
Mark?
down the road when Mark gets his department established, which he is in process of doing, and having 7-day coverage. This isn't something that's going to happen this year. This is going to be something that we try to develop and enforce maybe next year after they get established and have an on-call person or people consistently working 7 days. And that's been in the past when we first put in those pavilions over at Dodge Park before Scarlet Smile existed. We tried to do reserving of them and you just could not enforce it. You'd get over there and you'd have groups of people. I mean, they're arguing and, it's a public park. And so everybody felt they had the right to be there. So now we tell everybody it's just first come, first serve, and that they cannot deny anybody the access to use of the park itself. But with as many requests that are coming in, I can see the summer being crazy for us over there. And so,
well, I mean, is it as much as putting up a kiosk there, a lockbox stating, where their permit says this is reserved from this time by township authority.
But then they have a number to call if there's an issue, even if that's Oakland County Sheriff. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we're getting there. We're getting to where we can do that.
But at Scarlet, you have 3 pavilions there, potentially the 4th one going in.
Yes.
So each one of those, from a number or size, if their party is 10, they can fit in one of the small ones. If it's 20, they rent the bigger one. But there needs to be a way. Yeah, it's going to get ugly before it gets good.
And that's why I almost think you need to we're not going to enforce it this year. Develop a policy, educate over the fall and winter, and then start enforcing it next year.
Well, and then
so are these questions
on the website?
Are these
let people know?
Yeah.
Right. So are these just questions to have us talk about them that you had issues with?
It's just to give us guidance of what you want to see. It'll give us a start. We can bring back that start and we can have further discussion. We wanted to have an idea of the direction you guys wanted to go in.
Yeah, and I kind of went off surrounding communities and what was stated within their policies for park use to kind of start, get a starting point for where we wanted to go with it.
Okay. All right. Anybody else?
I do think until we get like a rental policy for the pavilions, I think we should limit the amount of tables people can take if they get there. Like one family can't take all 5 tables at Scarlet's Park and then make it so no other family can get there. Because you'll have somebody getting there at 6 in the morning and setting
Yeah,
up on
and-
all the tables. And then that just deters other people from wanting to go there. Maybe we just say like you can have 2 tables maximum so that other people can enjoy the pavilion. And I think that'll decrease some of the issues because we went there and somebody had all 4 tables with like 3 people at each table.
Yeah, I agree with that. It's a start definitely to help us educate the public that, and that's why we always, in any email I send, in any conversation I have, I always end it with, you cannot deny anybody else use of the pavilion. You cannot deny people public access to the park. So you can have your party, but you cannot turn anybody else away.
Aren't there still COVID rules right currently about having 10 people max or 6 people?
100 outside.
Not outside?
It's 100 outside right now.
Well, there were more than 100 at Scarlett's Park the other day.
No, I'm sure.
There were more than 100 today at 2:00, and they were definitely within 6 feet out on that playground.
But I don't think that's deemed as a gathering. So they didn't all go there to gather with each other. They just
I know.
happened to end at the same destination.
Just like spring break.
The nice
Spring break
day.
in commerce.
Yeah. All right.
Let's go.
Any more discussion on the item number 11, parks use policy?
I think that gives us an idea.
Yeah, some good ideas there. So once we get to meet in person, we can put those all down and get
right.
something. All right, let's move on to item 12, the donation policy.
Okay,
Where are we at
so
with
I think, I'm hoping we have a final version here. I want to, if you guys are good with this version, I would like to send this over to the attorneys for review and then send it to the township board for final approval. So Allison cleaned up the policy. Go ahead, Bob.
Well, 2 things I had in reading it, and I commented one before the meeting, but I'll do it as make it official, I guess, is that we ought to get a generic email address, which I know you said you're working on, maybe parksandrec@commercetownship.com, and you 3, 4, 7, whoever was there can get that email. One, it takes people's names out of it, and then as people move or other people come in, you can add and pull them off there. The other thing, I thought when we discussed on trees that we were not putting plaques on a tree, but that we were putting the plaques on a display that's going to be at the Richardson Center or something like that. Is that, am I dreaming that up, or did we talk something about that?
I remember that too, because we went through that whole situation with Edgewood, and we had these little tombstones sitting by every tree. And the policy now is your tree is located here, and there's a tree in the lobby that has the name of the person and the tree location. And that's what it is. So you want to buy a tree goes in the ground, plaque goes on the wall or on the
so I guess my comment would be under memorial tree, unless I just missed it when I was reading it, we should probably better define that in there, that the plaques get posted, whatever that is. If there's a time frame on it, when it fills up, we'll start rotating the old ones out. I don't know, whatever you want to put on there.
Another one.
And then that was it. That was all I had as far as the comment. Otherwise, I think it was pretty good.
Okay, I might have missed that when I was doing it, so I'll make sure it's in there.
Okay, so how did we decide the money? So price of a memorial tree is $500. We include planting and everything else. How big a tree is that?
So we were saying anything that will have like a 1.5 to a 2-inch diameter for the trunk.
Yeah, it's a decent caliper tree.
Okay.
So
So do we know what that costs? I have no idea.
Most of them that I was
Bob.
finding were about $200 or so. So I figured once we got the plaque, and then once you do any of the water maintenance and all of that, that's how I came up with that dollar amount. I mean, if you guys want it to be something else, then by all means. That's what it was at the surrounding communities as well, was $500. So I figured that was pretty average.
That's probably pretty good, because most of them that we planted at the outdoor center were about 350, and they were a good size, at least 2 inches. And the company put them in, that was part of the cost. So I think that's a reasonable amount of money.
And so I'll go back on the same thing as at the bench. I know we decided on a bench. I just don't remember the amount and all that. So 2,000 gives a good
So the
coverage
bench-
of it, I guess.
The bench was just about $1,100. That does not include the
Okay.
cost of the donation plaque or the memorial plaque. That was $300. So that puts you right around $1,400-1,500, and that does not include the delivery cost. I never heard back from Lance about what the standard price for a delivery is, and then whatever it's going to cost Mark and the maintenance for any of the cement for the footings. So I left a little leeway in that. I know there was discussion about how much the memorial benches were going to be for the Michigan Airline Trail. Their benches are going to run closer to $3,500 because they have a more intricate design on their bench.
Well, I think we talked about also is that, Bob, didn't we mention that let's buy 5 if there's a tremendous shipping cost, and if that lowers the cost, and we'll put them in inventory?
Well, we did talk about we did talk about that.
So we could save some money there, I hope.
That would
I just
help you
did,
with the shipping
I want
costs.
I want to make it reasonable, but on the other hand, I don't want us to have to go back and continually changing the price all the time. So I don't know whether if 2,000 is fine, I'm good with that. If it needs to be 2,500, I'm good with
Comparative
that
to
too.
other communities, Allison found this to be low. We only heard one other community was lower than this, and I believe it was West Bloomfield at $1,000.
Right.
We never
And-
did get confirmation on that.
Yeah, that was someone told me they got that pricing from West Bloomfield, but I've reached out to West Bloomfield twice and I never heard from them, and I cannot find any information on their website that they have a policy for a bench donation. So I'm not sure how accurate that is.
I think
Well,
1,000 is pretty low considering every bench we looked at was at least $1,000.
Well, let's say, Mark, if we put a number at like $2,500, would you feel that would be adequate with what Allison just told us to be able to put in the foundation or blocks or whatever we needed to do that?
Yeah, I can come up with a price with that. I just need to know what size you want the pad to be.
Well, I don't know. I think we talked about possibly not even doing a pad, just
Doing the
putting
footings.
furniture points.
Oh.
So whatever, and
Yeah.
put the eye bolts into that, or the
Right.
dead bolts in, and then
Okay,
screw
yeah.
it to that. And
That
it's
should
on
be
the
a lot cheaper that
foundation.
way, yeah.
It's
So
a
I
matter of covering your costs for, I guess, cement, bolting, whatever, and then time of putting it in, and then
Right.
it just gives leeway. So are we then taking that money and it just stays in, what are we going to call it, a memorial fund? And it just stays in there for whatever potential maintenance that needs to be done down the line?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think that I agree with Bob on the thing is that let's find the number that next year, all of a sudden, we got to raise the price, until we get to the point where our costs do become close to cost. And then we'd have to jack the price up another $200 or $500.
Agreed.
So that way we've got a few years that we can live with what we're doing.
So,
Agreed.
so the benches, we're saying 10 years or the life of the bench, whichever comes first. What is for the trees? How long are we just saying a year for the tree?
I
Because we're
think
only
we-
offering a
whatever the
1-year warranty.
Of the tree is, John. So whatever the warranty of the tree is, that's what we're informing the potential buyers that, most trees are, Barb, you're gonna help out on this one, what, a year, 2 seasons?
Usually
Yeah,
it's
we're-
two.
A
We're
lot
saying
of
1
them,
year.
the guarantee's
but-
about a year.
But what if the tree lives
Yeah,
20 years?
Should be a big tree.
Well,
Yeah.
the tree will be there. The plaque is going in on the, whatever you want to call it, on the wall in the Richardson Center. I mean, I would personally put their plaque up and put the year or whatever we're doing, and then
Right.
as it fills up,
Yeah.
when we fill the tree up, we either can hang another tree to put up there, or rotate the old ones out. I don't know that we need to have a length. I don't know.
Is that
No.
what you're saying, Johnny, about this, about maybe the plaque of how long we
Yeah, how-
are,
what's-
it's not
what
gonna
are
have
we
a
gonna
life?
guarantee?
Specify a length of time that after so many years, they just get the plaque back.
Yep.
Well,
Maybe
it
we
would
tell them after
like-
10 years, you get the plaque back, or after 5 years for a tree, you
Yeah,
get the plaque back. That way we're not,
that way we
I
don't
mean-
have endless plaques showing up and having to
Yeah.
display endless amounts. of
Guys, remember,
plaques.
they're gonna be nameplates. Nameplates, that's all, not a plaque. A nameplate on a large wooden tree, let's say, or a large plaque on the wall, and then you put the plaques on. Line them
I
up.
think
Yeah,
getting a
I mean,
little
it'll have some
plaque
wording.
to go with it wouldn't be that expensive when you give them back the little nameplate.
yep.
Yeah. So,
And they
Is
can
there
have
a
the
general
satisfaction
consensus?
to know their tree in 10 years is still alive, and they can say, hey, that's grandma's tree or whatever. But I mean, it's not going to be named or anything. So I'm good with making it consistent if 10 years is what everybody wants.
10 years?
If that's what you're deciding.
10 years of the
I
life
mean,
of the
it's
tree.
consistent.
Same wording as the bench.
I agree.
I mean, I suppose if the tree dies in 5 years, then you'd sell it to somebody else, I suppose, or they can repurchase
Well,
maybe or whatever. I don't know.
sorry, we had to cut your tree down here. Is she black?
Yeah, right.
You should,
And
do you want the
there
mulch?
should be no guarantee, after a year, just
year.
like anything else.
Yeah.
I mean, trees die.
Well, it's hard. Yeah, it's hard when the tree, I mean, ideally we have what do we call them? The plans on what we think we're doing with the park. Hopefully we're not sticking a tree where
Sure.
we hope in 5 years from now, we're going to have a trail go through, something like that. So
Right, yeah,
we'll learn as we go along, I suppose. But.
Oh, we did have a question, Allison.
Hmm.
You got that request last
Oh,
week.
yes, for this. So I had a lady come in last week and mentioned wanting to have a tree planted at the Richardson Center for her husband that passed away last year. So something that we want to think about adding, or I don't know, like Emily and I did not think of this. She wants to spread his ashes on the tree once it is planted.
No, no.
So, I mean, like, I did not think
No.
about it, so do we need to specify? What are your thoughts on that?
Think you said
No.
specify it.
I think it's against the law for them to spread ashes on public property,
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, then
I
that
thought
would
too,
help
but I
us
don't
if
know
that's the
offhand.
case. Yeah.
because I know you can't
Ask
go
the
to like,
attorneys. I'll
Yeah.
tell you that there's no way you could stop me. If after the tree's in, I come
Well,
over
no,
and
but I mean, you
dump
drive
ashes, what are you
by
going to
and
do?
yeah, there's
Just have
literally
to-
nothing you can do, but yep.
Yeah, but if we're
It's-
asked, we have to be able to answer that question.
The answer is
Yeah.
no.
Just look it up. I mean, if it's not allowed, it's not allowed by the state, you know what I mean? So, I mean, you're
Yeah.
off the hook. If
Ask,
you come and sprinkle the
That's
ashes.
all
Ask
right.
Hans.
You just
We'll
go
make a
and
note,
put 'em on
Pat.
at night when nobody's around.
Yeah.
I'm sure it happens more than we know it happens.
Policy is
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
no.
I'm sure it does.
We,
Officially, the township does not support that.
We put one of the councilman's ashes in one of our Tiki Night fireworks.
There
Very
you go.
No.
And
Who
then
is
that means you just spread it all over the lake.
Yep.
He
And
was
then
one of
as
the-
far
yeah,
as tree types, you guys don't have any special requests. I mean, whatever is native to Michigan, whatever the arborist recommends. We've had requests specifically for flowering trees. So is there an issue with those?
We're looking at you, Barb.
Well, I'll come over and talk to you about that because there are some that are weaker than others. And so maybe we ought to, I'll do a little study to make sure that I'm right. And I'll.
Well,
come on
nothing like
over
a
if
good old
that's-
dogwood, Barb.
Pardon?
Nothing like a good old dogwood.
Yeah, but
Or-
they don't
Hi.
always
I
last
think,
that long.
Emily, if we're moving in this direction, and maybe Barb can help with this too, you're going to have to start thinking about, where do we want trees? So someone
Right.
wants to do something in Richardson, where are you going to let them put it? They want to put it in the middle of the park. I mean, we need to be thinking those things too.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
Will be determined by you guys, by the Parks and Rec Board.
Yeah, I know, but we're not, we at one time had wasn't the arborist, what do we have? A reforestation plan that we were working on,
Right.
and we wanted to do it with deciduous trees or evergreen, I suppose, but whatever.
We're staying.
But we just need to,
We can identify areas. That's easy
Yeah.
enough to do.
Okay.
Right offhand, I would say we're better off without evergreens because they don't always last that long.
No.
And then people get upset because they are bare in the middle. This, oh my God. So we need to stick probably to more deciduous.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, if you just stop by.
Well,
Barb,
we only need them to last 10 years, so we're good.
Oh, okay. That's about it.
1
All
year,
right.
sell it to somebody else.
So we'll
There
have
you
Barb
go.
come by and then I'll send this off to the attorneys and
Okay. All right, we done with that one.
yeah,
Are
look
you
at
guys
us.
good with the
Moving on.
2,000 for the bench?
2,500?
I'd say 2,500.
Okay. Thank you.
All
Do you need a
right.
motion or something?
Yeah, that'd be good. I like motions.
Oh my gosh. So I'll say that I'll make a motion that we move forward with the, what the heck's that thing called? Commerce Township Parks and Rec tree and bench donation policy with the recommended changes to include a generic email and a, what do you want to call it? The bench price to be $2,500.
And the tree to be 500.
Right,
With
correct.
the 1.5 or 1 to 2 inch caliper tree.
Also a time frame on how long the tree's gonna be there. The plaque.
Yeah,
the
just
tree
make
plaque.
sure you update that and put in the plaque that'll be at the Richardson Center in the policy.
Okay.
And if you get that stuff in there, you can send it to the board, I suppose.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll second the motion.
There we go.
John, would you like to include in that at the end of 10 years, the plaque will be sent to the donor? Is that what you'd like in there?
That works. I'd say
Alright.
10 years or the life of the tree, whichever's less. Have
Okay.
it match the wording of the bench to keep it consistent.
Okay.
Consistent is simple.
That's assuming you know how to get a hold of the person that donated the bench. Yeah.
Well, we don't worry about that. We send out the notice and then boom, that's it. Goes in the drawer.
Pick it up or don't pick it up.
30 days.
That's right. You have to put
All
those
right.
time limits.
Let's go on and move on here. Oh, we got a vote. Sorry.
Roll call.
And a second by John, right?
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Allison or Debbie?
Burkheiser,
Aye.
Walker,
Aye.
Garbett,
Aye.
Henderson,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Cast,
Yes.
Hesh.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, now we'll move on to item 13, park events. Em, what do we got on that?
All right, so this is pretty quick. So the bands are picked, yay. I included the list in your packet, so we know who's playing. At our concerts, we are working on the M5K. Allison did meet with the Trailways Committee and did get approval for our event. So she's gonna start working on getting all the permits and everything we need for that. And then we had talked about doing an Oktoberfest. And I know you all love subcommittees as much as I do. I see you shaking your head. I would like to put together a subcommittee to start working on this because, we've talked about doing beer tents and a lot of things that the township's never done before. And so I would like to set up a subcommittee to start meeting about this and make this happen this year. So who's volunteering? Don't
Do we
all
have
go
a
at
liquor
once.
license? Do we have a liquor license for our
We
park?
have a liquor license. The
We have a
Richardson
lot
Center-
of breweries in Commerce. We are a heavily brewery area.
John, you sound like you're volunteering.
I know.
I'll do it.
I sounded like
I love
that.
Oktoberfest. I love drinking beer.
And we know a butcher that'll provide meat.
That's right. But I'm
Right,
already on
Emily?
the committee, so don't be volunteering me again.
I'll do wine tasting. Someone else has to take the Oktoberfest.
Oh, I'll do the beer tasting. I'm good with that.
There you go.
Oh, nothing like sampling. You gotta have all those guys come out so we can sample their stuff. Yeah.
Anything to help out the township.
Right?
Is Johnny Walker bringing the scotch?
Yeah.
There you go.
Definitely.
Anybody else?
I can do it if no one
I
else
have
wants
you
to.
listed.
Oh,
Evidently,
I was hoping they get out of it.
All right.
I will bring up though, we did have to change the date. So if you had from last month our tentative date, we do have to switch it from the 18th to September 11th.
You're
Oh,
doing it
that
for
ought
my
to be a great
birthday?
day to have a party.
Just for you. Look at us.
I
Awesome.
don't, well, now the other is that is also September 11th. So, I mean, we may want to,
Otherwise, we'd have to push it probably into October. There is an
so Oktoberfest in October, you mean?
no, we can't do that. It's October.
Oktoberfest is in September.
See, thank you. When you live this close to Frankenmuth, you know that.
Yeah,
Well, we always have an Oktoberfest here, so.
I was in Oktoberfest in Germany, and I'm telling you, we better be careful.
Allison,
lot
did
of-
you message that renter? We had
Yeah.
a renter on that day.
Yeah,
She
we have a
still-
renter that day. She still plans on having her event that day, so. Otherwise, it pushes us into October. September 4th and the 11th were the only available Saturdays, and that is Labor Day weekend, and I don't know that that would really work.
No, that wouldn't
What's
be.
the first weekend in October?
Let me check.
It's interesting, when we've been having the summer festivals, it depends on when school starts. If school starts before Labor Day is a real
Well,
good
they all
day.
do now.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Because people are here.
Because people are here. They don't ever let their kids miss the first week of school. So if school's starting, a Labor Day weekend party would not be a bad plan. We always have the summer festival on the Saturday after Labor Day, just for that reason.
Yeah, but Labor Day is the last day on the lake.
Yeah, that's how I feel too.
Yeah, but lots of people don't live on the lake.
They'll
live
go
on the
somewhere for those 4 days.
I don't even live
guess
on the lake, but it's
11th
still the
is
last day on
fine.
the lake.
That's right.
Otherwise, it would be October 9th would be the first available date in October.
What day did we pick for the M5K?
Oh, October 9th. So yeah, we can't do that day.
All right, so it's got to be September 11th.
Could you do the Oktoberfest after the M5K? I mean, not that your time
And
would
honestly,
be challenged, but that could be a fun top off to the race.
actually,
did talk about it.
I really love a race with a good beer when I can
We-
drink beer.
we thought about that right away. Like that was our first thought, and then we didn't know if it would be too much to do in one day.
I would run it and attend.
Have the finish line in the tent, Rachel,
Yeah,
and a mug of beer.
that's the best kind of race.
I tend to agree.
I'm not opposed to it. We're just going to need, some more
All right.
manpower.
Do we have to do this today? Can we put it on
Nope.
for next?
We
All right,
can
let's
have
put-
our
No, that's what the
subcommittee
subgroup
discuss.
is for.
Well, make sure you reserve that that October 9th date to not rent out the Richardson Center, just
We
to
will.
be sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You should block both of those 2 days for temporary leave.
Yeah.
And in October, you could do the late race later in the day too. It doesn't have to be an early morning to avoid the heat. You could do a 2 or 3 and have it be like the opening part of the festival. Possibly.
That's a good idea too.
We talked about that, but then you're changing the location. Then it's not on.
Oh, on the M5.
Yeah, then it's not on the airline
Mm.
trail along M5. So
Depends. Does it end at on the dunes?
correct.
Mm-hmm.
So if it ends at on the dunes and you put a tent out in their front parking lot, that may, I don't know what they serve, whether they have any Michigan beers or however that's going to work.
I
don't
don't
know if
think
they'd
we'd want to serve beer there and then encourage people to go to the park though.
We don't want to host
No.
that kind of event at their facility.
Okay.
And I think they have to have special licensing to have outside beer tents.
They do.
Yeah, it has to go through the township.
Well, it
We don't
also
know
has to go
anybody-
through the state, because when we have the beer tent,
Yeah.
you have to get the state approval. So they're not gonna want to.
Idea of the 1 day thing though. I think that was our original thought, and then we didn't know if it would be, like I said, too much to do in a day, but we want to do it. So
All
We
right,
gotta look, yeah, we
We'll
also,
work on it.
there's an insurance bill on it too, I think,
Next.
unless,
all right. We good?
we're good.
Gotcha. Here we go. All right, item number 14, other matters. Anything?
Nope.
So I
Anybody?
got a couple. Yes.
All right, I got one.
Am I live? Yeah.
You are.
Okay. So I want to, I mean, I guess I would like to have it put on our next agenda is an update from, is Carrie still on? Carrie's still awake out there? But Johnny is, so he can touch base with her. So I'd like to have the Windmill Farm prioritization action plan. For some of you guys, you may know that we've been working. We have another one of our subgroups that's been working on trying to get the horse farm back in shape and making sure things as tenants for the township that we're trying to do what we can do. And there is a list that's got about 10 things on it. Some of this stuff is incumbent on Carrie to have and work with the groups that use the farm, however that's going to be done, to try and, as you know, better utilize the money that we have available to do things. And so there's some fencing that needs to be done. There's different things there. And so we'd like to try and get a better idea on when these things are going to get completed. I can go through the list. I can send it to Emily. Emily has it, but you know, we've got roof repair and we've had some of that done. There's drainage on there. The township's looking at doing the well and water, moving that over to the barn area. There's fencing that's an issue around the perimeter. There's some observation room things she would like to get done on the inside, an ADA bathroom, which we're going to at least start with on the, what do you call them, a porta potty, ADA accessible. There is a mobile home and a trailer out on the property and some tires and I'm going to say junk that needs to be removed. There's some electric issues that we need to make sure, one, moving the electric to the barn, but then two, making sure the electric that's running through the barn is in good shape so that whatever needs to be done in the observation room can be done. So those things have all been looked at. Jay has looked at it, given some cost estimates. There's money available to do some of this, to stretch that money. The township were purchasing things and the barn was going to be putting these things up. So there is a plan. We want to try and get those things in place and get an idea on when that's going to be done. So Carrie, if you would work with Mr. Walker and Emily and come back at our next month's meeting with an idea on when we can try and start seeing stuff, the township board would appreciate that. And I thought I had one more, but now I can't think of what the heck it is. So I guess that's it on my other matters.
Okay, well, I only got one, and that's to welcome Mr. Walker to the Parks and Rec Committee for the next 4 years.
Thank
Looking
you.
forward to all your reports from Maple Glen and the Horse area. So nice to have
Looking
you.
forward to it. Definitely looking forward to it.
All right. Okay, has anybody got anything else? And I'm gonna look for a motion to say goodnight.
Motion to say goodnight and end the meeting for this time.
Supported by Barb. Very good. All right, guys. Nice meeting.